Man, oh man, this is truly the hardest fish to catch on Lake Ladoga, the Volkhov whitefish. Finally, it went in, and even a 180 grams fish is enough for me. Is this crazy? The Volkhov whitefish, simply on another level of difficult. How you can get the highest possible probability of catching this fish? I'll show you now in this video. The whole thing, despite everything, remains super difficult, and you simply have to, yes, bring time with you. You just need time, and a hefty dose of luck. And external conditions, meaning weather influence and time of day, must also be right, for you to even have a reasonable chance of catching the Volkhov whitefish here on Lake Ladoga. We discussed all this to some extent in the live stream today as well. We exchanged information with many experienced players, and in the end, we always get the same information again and again. So, indeed, rainy weather is best. That's a basic prerequisite. Ideally, also in the morning hours, so the forenoon period between, let's say, 4 or 5 a.m. until midday, so until 11 a.m., 12 p.m., approximately. That's probably still one of the best times. Well, and Nostromo, also a super experienced player, then shared this spot here too. At this spot, several players in the live stream were then able to check off the Volkhov whitefish right away. Where are we here? Well, we have our special island spot here, and are sitting here on the island. And here, at this location, it seems to work quite well with the Volkhov whitefish. However, you also catch everything else here in very, very, very large quantities. Preferably, at the moment, pygmy vendus are resident here. Small fish here. Roof sometimes gets in on it too. Lake trout sometimes gets in on it too, and that, of course, makes the whole thing really, well, tedious. You're really here again and again, and trying, of course, to strike every fish, and so that everything hooks properly, so that you get every fish out here. But, you will simply be disappointed for a long time in very, very, very many cases. And on top of that, you have a certain time pressure, because all of this has to fit a certain timing. So, we have to be here at a certain time of day, and of course, we don't always have rainy weather on the Volkhov. Of course, this here is Lake Ladoga, not the Volkhov, where we're fishing for the Volkhov whitefish. And, of course, you can also try the whole thing here, without rainy weather, simply in the morning hours, but then you just have somewhat poorer conditions for the whole thing to work. Regarding the depths, I'm currently using the match rod here, and for the depths, I'm now at about 3 meters deep. So, 3 meters deep on one rod. We'll take a closer look at the others in detail in a moment. And, you know what? We'll do that right now with this rod. The first was 3 meters, the second is also at 3 meters, and the third rod. I think that one is even a bit deeper, is at 3.30 meters. So, I'll set that one to 3 meters deep as well, and then we'll look at the setup here again. I'm using 7.8 kilograms fluorocarbon all the way here, and only on size 9 hooks too. I'll go even smaller there, because a size 8, or rather, size 10 hooks down to a size 8 hook. Those are supposedly the ideal hook sizes. I'll put the size 8 hook on here now, and apparently, you have a lot of success if you only use the mayfly. So, that's also supposed to work really well, just with the mayfly. So, I'll do that on this rod here as well, cast the whole thing out again, to a 15-meter clip here. And, then we have this rod. I'll rig that one up differently too. Here, I'll take a size 10 hook now, and then maybe I'll just put the double stonefly on here. We'll test that too. Also this one at 3 meters depth, and at a 15-meter distance. And here is the combination rig. And I'll make this one a bit bigger too. That means, putting the size 8 hook on here as well. Size 8 hook with the combination. You can also combine even more. So, worms also work from time to time, but with those, of course, you get a lot of perch as bycatch. Then you also see gammarus from time to time, or sometimes a diving beetle in there. And I think, I'll test gammarus, stonefly, scud here now. That too at 3 meters depth. It would be a dream, of course, if you could eventually check this fish off as a trophy, as rare as it is. That would be really insane. Would be absolutely awesome. Well, do we have an immediate bite after casting out? No, it's sinking down nicely to a depth of 3 meters first. Yes, so, 15-meter clip. The coordinates, I think you can see them quite well. 4936 are the coordinates, on this small island. You have to cross over by boat, of course. You can then just drive it up against it, here, and then you can get out. So, that's done very quickly. And then you just use the time here and test, test, test. And as I said, bring a lot of patience, and ideally, of course, bad weather, rainy weather. And I think you can already see quite clearly how few rainy days there are at all, and how seldom it rains here at Lake Ladoga. You can, of course, also do this at the archipelago. So, Ladoga Archipelago, that also works, of course, definitely a possibility to just try it there. But there too, of course, you have to search again, find the spots first where it could work, and you'll probably be at it for a long time there too. Another possibility would be to do the whole thing with a wacky rig. That's also definitely a possibility, but there too, it's very, very, very difficult to even find something that works in the first place. So, to find a wacky worm that works. But that too would certainly be an option, if you don't feel like doing it with a float here. Maybe even here at the same spot with the wacky worm. I would go super small there too. So, definitely go with the size 10 hook again, so really small, and then test the different worms. For the task, it's enough, if you've checked off such a small fish here. Here are all 3 fish. The first 2 I already did at the lighthouse spot. There's already a video about that on the channel, just take a look. That was about the Ladoga whitefish. Foxy Renke, Wham humpback whitefish. So, there's already a video about that. Volkhov whitefish, 180 grams, finally checked off, but with that, the task is completed. So, level 5, task 1, that's done with that. And so now I'm basically just missing one more task here, and that is asp or burbot of 4.5 kilograms on the Volkhov or on the Sura. That's actually not really that difficult, so that works out relatively easily. And yes, that was, I think, one of the most difficult fish overall in this entire event, in all these tasks. Catching this Volkhov whitefish is always a challenge. Yes, so much for this spot here. The whole thing is and remains simply difficult. If you get annoyed quickly and easily, maybe drink a calming tea beforehand, because this whole thing here won't get any easier. So, if you go here and you don't have the right conditions for it, then it can definitely be that you simply don't catch this fish. And you probably need several attempts, go here again and again and test again and again. And as I said, ideally, make sure the weather is suitable and the time is suitable. If you don't have much time, use the little time you have only when everything is perfect and perfectly right. Then go here and test, and otherwise, don't sit here fishing, but do something more sensible. If this whole thing helped, leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, helps me out mega amounts. And then we'll see each other in the next video, or the next live stream. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays always from 7 p.m. Tight lines until next time.